So I'm going to show you the training simulation first so that you get an idea as to why people want this. The difference between a video and a simulation is that in a video, you're playing like you said, you saw someone live, flipping the egg, doing things. You can see a human. A simulation is a little bit different. A simulation captures your screen. So if you ever have to say, hey, you know, I need to show people where to click on my website. I need to show people where they go on, you know, my training guide online, and I can't show them because I can't point to it. Well, that's why you make a simulation, and this is what it looks like. I'll just show you a few seconds here. Okay, so we don't have to play the whole shebang as I said, but that basically is what's called a video simulation. It's still exported as an .mp4, which is a movie file. You can play it. This one plays on your phone or on a computer. But as you can see, the big difference between a simulation and the video is that the video has a human being just explaining things. The simulation is for a computer or for a screen, for someone to follow you on that screen. Okay? The third modality that I want to show you is a module. This one right here is probably the hot ticket item that everyone's talking about today, an e-learning module. Although simulations are trailing not too far behind because people are having a hard time. They wanna explain to people where to click, where to go, and they don't know how. Okay. So before I keep going here, though, I'm gonna ask Amira if anybody has any questions.
Yes, there is a question. So, from Denise, is there sound?
Oh, can you guys not hear it?
I can hear something very quiet in the background, but I can't make it out. So no, I guess they couldn't.
Oh no, there's definitely sound. Definitely sound. But I don't know. There's sound on my end. I'm not exactly sure.
Can anybody else hear it?
I can hear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nope. And you can hear the video?
Yes.
Okay.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are we good, Amira? Okay. Good. So I'll go back into my portfolio. This, like I said, right now we are working on the portfolio. This is actually the very page that we're updating on my website right now. So I thought maybe it had to do with me, Amira. So I'm glad that it's not. Okay. So then we're going to go to this module. Now, I have to tell you that because I do mainly work with corporations, I'm not per se able to show their policies and procedures, which is why, you know, my portfolio is samples of work, but to respect clients, I don't actually show their physical stuff. So, but this right here is a training module. So we'll play it here. So then notice that it's a module asks you for you to do something very different from a simulation because you're just watching it. Very different from a video because you're just watching it. In a module, your learner has to do something. A module, the reason why the module is so probably hot today, we'll use the word hot. First of all, it's been around for a long, long time, but the reason why people are turning more and more to modules is because it helps not only the visual learner, but the kinesthetic learner as well, because you have to touch. You literally have to, the module will not keep going like a video unless you interact with it, which is very important. And so in a module, the neat thing is you can, I'm gonna mute this one because it's loud on my end. But if you continue, you can insert videos. This is an interview I did with a couple of gentlemen in Denver from the Sikh temple in Denver. So they're explaining to me a few things. We're asking a question. Notice down here how short this video is about to be. Okay, you can make a module very short or as long as you want. But here comes a very important part of this module. I'm gonna turn it back on. Okay, super important here, because you can actually, to help your learner understand the idea that is in your head, you can actually cut it up into pieces. Rather than them watching just something, you can say, hey, did you hear what he said? Answer the question. You submit, and then they can keep going. So the reason why this type of learning is super important today, which is this one, the module, is because you can insert YouTube videos. You can insert Vimeo videos. You can make your own video and put it in there, and you can insert question slides for your learner to make sure that they're following you. Because a big miss when it came to video learning in my field, not too long ago, but we'll say it was a few years ago, is that trainers and teachers were showing videos and their students would check out after like a couple of minutes. Why? Because there's not that check-in that comes into a module that says, hey, did you hear that question? I'm gonna ask you to make sure you did. And then you make it keep going, but not until they answer the question, which is why these modules are becoming really a standard for learning, because it touches on visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learning. Okay.
Hey, Cassie.
Yes, yes.
We have the same question. What software are you using to create these modules?
I love this. This is such a good question because we're about to get into this right here. Okay, so I'm gonna touch on that, Amira. Are there any other questions though that don't have to do with the software? Because we're definitely gonna go there.
No.
No? Okay. So good. To wrap this part up, I want to make sure that we're here. My biggest recommendations as an instructional designer is please write it down, create your training manual, create that written aspect, so that when you make your movies, whether it's a simulation for your computer, whether it's a live video, whether it's a module, then if you need any changes in the future, you can go back to the written material, tweak it there, and then add back to your movies. When you just make a movie or a module, you're kind of disservicing not only your business, but the people who are planning on watching your next thing, because then there's no continuation, or maybe there's no base from which you can actually jump off of. So again, it's probably the most simple recommendation you're ever going to hear, but it goes back to just write it down. Write it down first and then make the movie, okay?
Awesome. One other question. Yes. How long is the optimal module? Like, what's the ideal length for a module?
What a great question. Now, listen, I am an instructional designer, which means that for the last 12 years, the story of my life, which I absolutely love, has been learning the brain, learning what people like, learning our attention span, learning the learning modalities. Like, what are you really watching? Can you tell me if you like this or not? What caught your attention? How long should it be? So all of these things are so important, and that question is so on point, because here's the thing, guys. Back when I was younger, if a teacher popped in a movie for like 30 minutes, we would pay attention to it for sure, and we'd be like, party time. Yes, we can just check out and answer the questions in the sheet after. Fine. 30 minutes was fine back when I was in elementary school. Now, it's really different. There's a reason why in my industry, there's a term called micro learning, which is it's been trending, I think, for, probably a couple of years. Micro learning is really important because another term in my industry is called chunking. Chunking sounds just like it is. You're chunking pieces out of your learning. You're not just putting the whole thing out there and leaving your learners to just like watch something for half an hour and expect them to have paid attention, because that's just, let's just be real for today, that's just not going to happen right this second. You have to chunk things out because that's how we're learning today. That's just, our attention span has gotten a little bit shorter. So if you actually can help know that about the world today, you can make the things more digestible. And micro-learning can go, for example, this sample simulation, the one that says eLearning instructional design here, this one's 59 seconds. Good enough. I just taught you how to do something that you never have ever seen before, and now you know how to do it in 59 seconds, because now in 59 seconds, even if you didn't catch the whole thing, you can watch it over and over again, and it's 59 seconds of your life. You got this. You can do it. And when you're ready for the next step, I can actually create another simulation for that. So it really depends on knowing your audience, and we hear that as entrepreneurs probably all day long. Know your audience, who you're talking to, and understand the learning modalities of today. And that is more my field than, probably the popular, or excuse me, you know what I mean? It's more what an instructional designer would know. But I'm telling you right now that if you can make it shorter for people's lifestyles, awesome. If you know that the expectation of whatever you're doing is 30 minutes, then make it 30 minutes. If you're telling people far in advance, this is going to take half an hour, the simulation is half an hour, and you're putting half an hour into their minds, then they'll expect it. But the problem comes when you didn't say that as an educator today. You say, guys, we're going to have this class today, and then you suddenly tell them they're going to have to watch a 30-minute thing. Whoa, that's a long time for the brain right now. So if you're going to make a longer simulation or e-learning, prepare people. Otherwise, just make sure that you're chunking it out. I'm not saying that they all need to be 58 seconds, but people right now have time from 1 minute to 8 minutes. And then they may have 15 minutes. Half an hour, you may be pushing it. Unless they really love to follow that podcast, people are probably not going to sit through 30 minutes. They already have built a love for something that they'll be able to watch for half an hour because they love it. But if you're new or you're given a new idea, I tell people all the time, try to chunk it out. And if it's your first time making a simulation or a video, then by all means, and really, please ask them for feedback, because they're the ones who know. They'll say, 15 minutes felt like too long for me. Or like 8 minutes was perfect, because I was able to do it or to listen to it right before I had to take the kids to school, right before I had to shower. 8 minutes. It sounds very digestible. 59 seconds, it sounds even better, but people usually know that 59 seconds is great, but they might have to watch it over and over again. Okay? So what's the ideal time? Definitely depends on your audience and the feedback that they give you. But as far as the world today, you really have to be careful with the longer modules. Okay? Amira, did you have another question?
Yeah, we did, but it looks like it got answered. The question was maybe a long presentation into smaller videos, or give them the option to return. And then the next one was, would you advise, oh yeah, we do have one. Would you advise using SurveyMonkey to get the feedback on your first video? Like, how do you get that feedback?
I freaking love this question so much. Any way that's most convenient for you. Any way that's most convenient for you that you know how to use, that will not be inconvenient for your learner. Meaning, if the learner has to sit there and download the app, like make sure they have high-speed internet, all these things before they get to the survey, that you're maybe asking too much. If a SurveyMonkey is just one link and immediately they get to the survey, that's just 2-3 steps, no problem. So just make sure it's convenient for you and convenient for them. Get the feedback any way you can, because when we don't get feedback as instructional designers, I'm not talking about as the world, but as instructional designers, if we don't get feedback, then we are failing at helping the learner, because then we're just imposing what we think is right rather than what's good for them. So feedback is a huge, huge part of the instructional design process. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into the meat. I know that you guys want to know what tools. So where's my little, where is it? Okay, here we go. Okay, so we talked about this. We talked about this kinesthetically. All right, big question. What do people want e-learning today? You know, conveys learning visually and kinesthetically. You can definitely watch it from anywhere, so remote. And it's a potential moneymaker for a lot of entrepreneurs. Then we're going to talk about the reality and this disconnect here. We kind of talked about the learner engagement. Again, this is where feedback comes in. If we're not checking in with the learners and we're just imposing something that is our idea and it's our idea and this is how you're going to learn it, careful. There are 7 billion people in the world who learn differently. Right now, luckily, my field's been able to find 5 different modalities for learning, but that doesn't mean there's only 5, okay? So really get feedback from your learner as to how they're engaged, because I tell you what, for as awesome as e-learning modules are, the completion rate is not the greatest. Some have even just 11% completion. That means that people are putting out their e-learning videos and people are not even doing them. It sounded great when they bought it, but they're not even doing it. One of the corporations that is very good at e-learning processes in corporate America, they even have a 40% rates for certain things, and that's really good. So you can imagine, people are creating these modules and they're not necessarily making them engaging enough that people want to continue. And as an entrepreneur, if you create a module and people don't want to continue it, they're not telling anybody else about it. So the money you made on that, that's it. Nobody's spreading the word. So you really have to make the module according to, yes, definitely your idea that you have in your head because it's so good, but also make sure that once you pull that first, or you push that first version out, check in to see what they need so that you can make it more engagement as it goes. 11% of completion is no good. I mean, it's good for the 11%, but not good for the other 89%. So again, and then this is not, I'm generalizing, it's not 11% for everybody who makes a module. Some people have huge success. What I'm saying is you don't want to fall into that 11%. You want to make sure that you have higher completion rates. How does that work? Learner engagement. How do you gain learner engagement? Know your audience. Know who you're talking to. Know what they want from you. Listen when they tell you that was too long. Listen when they tell you it would have been nice to have something in the middle of the video, like a slide, to kind of distract me and kind of like put me back in it. Okay, just listen to that. So that's a disconnect, not listening to our people. Okay. Also remember that, you know, we learned a certain way in schools, and even though we're moving away from that, we still need to check back in with quote unquote the teacher. We still need you. People still need you, quote unquote, in a way need, right? Because you created it, you're the one who knows about it. And if there's no way to check back in with you, there's no way to check back in with the teacher that we're so used to, then they kind of have to figure it out. And sure, that's awesome that you sold it, but check back in with them. Maybe give yourself time for a Zoom call in between the module, or maybe set up a chat. Sometimes people actually do want to see you. So again, a Zoom is really good. Let's say that you create a module that has 2 parts. Make sure you check in between the 2 parts. Make sure that there's a way for them to check back in with you. Remember how you and I learned. We went to school with a teacher. People are still going to school with a teacher. We haven't fully moved away from that. People need to be able to see you and check in with you. So don't disconnect them by just selling something and leaving it out, because sometimes they'll need you back for questions. Okay, now we're going to get into the tools. Any questions before I move on to this part right here?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Oh, is there a program that you can recommend that help map out your content for somebody who has just massive amounts of content? How do you organize that, get that organized, and then structure it?
I love it. Are you talking about written content or already modular content?
Sally, go ahead and take yourself off of mute. Or I'll take you off mute.
Hey, I know how to do that.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. Cassandra, what was it you just said? Was it what or what?
What I just said?
Yeah.
I said, make sure that you check in with the learner. But the question that Amira was saying was about, what was the question about, Amira?
So the question was about how do you organize your content
There
to
we go.
get started?
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. And so my question was, are you talking about written content or you already have modules that you need organized?
You know, both. I've been writing content for this course for over 2 years.
Okay.
And I have a lot of content, and I mean, this is helpful to see that, you know, I need to do a training manual, an MP4 video or training simulation. And then these e-learning modules are great, but I'm just not sure. You know, I would say, to answer your question that you've asked of me, I'd say both.
Okay.
Do you use, is there a program out there that would help me put the content in an order or anything like that?
Definitely, you know, and this is a very good question, because when we get to the tools here, and we're in them now, so I'm just gonna roll with the tools, and then you can
Okay.
I think that you'll get your question answered here, to
Yes,
be honest.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right,
Awesome.
before you get into that, Cassie, there's one more question.
Sure.
You mentioned 7 learning modalities: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and what are the other, or 5? Okay.
There's 5.
What are the other 2?
Kinesthetic, visual, reading, auditory, and writing. Now, writing and kinesthetic sometimes get pushed into the same category, because to write, you have to move. And kinesthetically, it's all about movement. So some people say, there's 4 or 5, but if you want to separate them completely, there are those 5.
So it's kinesthetic, visual, writing, reading, and what's the other one?
Kinesthetic,
Auditory.
auditory. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. No problem. And like I said, you know, those are the ones that we've been able to in education agree upon for the past, you know, few decades. That doesn't mean that they're the only ones, you know. I mean, we might actually find more as we grow as a world. Maybe we combine a few, who knows? But right now, those are the standards. Good.
Sorry. Yes, that's it.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to get into these tools here. Amira, would you mind seeing if Gina's on the call? I'm not gonna tap into her quite yet, but I want to make sure that when I do tap into her, she's there.
She is on the call.
She's on the call. Okay, good.
Yes, I am right here.
Okay, perfect, Jean. Thank you. Okay, good. So I'm going to talk about the corporate tools, and then I'm going to tap into you with entrepreneurial tools, and then I'm going to close it up with just jump in. Okay, Jean, how does that work?
That sounds perfect.
Perfect. Okay. So, and I'll introduce you to Jean here in just a minute, because I actually think that she's going to answer the last question much better than I can. So we'll begin with the tools. The tools available, there are so many out there, but as far as, I'm going to speak to the corporate part because I do it the most, and the entrepreneurial part, Jean is going to touch on the most. Both are super important, okay? Now, an LMS, that comes from corporate America. People ask me, I'm like, what's an LMS? What's an LMS? It's a learning management system. That's what it is. Learning management system. A corporation uses, or academia even, uses a learning management system to manage things like classification of documents or grading, also compliance. We use it for that, a learning management system. We also use it to put in and organize the things that we create. In a learning management system, you can put in PDF, Word, documents of any kind. You can also import modules, videos, e-learning. You can import virtual reality tools in a learning management system. So the learning management system is the tool where all of these things are housed. Now, the difference between corporate tools and entrepreneurial tools is that in corporate America, you actually separate them. A learning management system is separate from what's called a tool where you author, I won't use that term, too technical, the tool where you make your modules, okay? In corporate America, they're separate, and then they come together. Once you've created your module, then you upload it into your LMS. Done. Corporate America. In the entrepreneurial world, you'll see that there's actually tools that are created that have both. Okay, you can create and upload things, and this is what entrepreneurial tools sometimes call an LMS. It's all together, which is very convenient, honestly, because in corporate America, I have to make sure that there's an LMS for the corporation in order to make their modules. If you're not in a corporation, honestly, don't even concern yourself with that, because Jean is actually going to talk about the tools that are together for entrepreneurs. Okay, and then people call me up and ask me, do I have to be SCORM compliant? SCORM compliant is a very important thing if you need to be compliant. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, honestly, you probably don't need it. Corporate America and academia do need SCORM compliant documents because they need them to be uploadable in a certain way. Again, I don't want to get into these last 4 and 5 here technically too much, because if you really haven't dabbled into this, you probably don't need them, especially this one. You don't need to be SCORM compliant. Do you need an LMS? You'll see. You'll actually know if you need an LMS, but I think Jean is going to get more into that, okay? This one right here is the one that I want to point out. I literally get phone calls asking me, do I need to be SCORM compliant? And then I have to talk to them about what they need and what they're trying to do. Probably not. Probably not. Academia and corporations do most of the time need to be, okay? So entrepreneurs, we have to have a longer conversation about what you're trying to do, and then I'll be able to tell you if you need to be SCORM compliant or not, okay? But it's a term that's coming up a lot right now, and I don't want you to get scared by it. I just want you to know that it's out there. If you need it, you can always call me. We can talk about it, and I'll let you know, okay? So tools, Captivate. Adobe Captivate and Articulate Storyline. These are the tools where you create modules and e-learning simulations. What I showed right here, these two right here, sample training simulation and the e-learning module, is how I created these modules. It's Adobe Captivate. Adobe Captivate is a tool where you can create this type of learning. So you open it up and you start creating in there, and then boom, you have exactly the modules that I showed you. First, you do need to know how to use it. And secondly, they help you, when it's ready, you can upload it to wherever you're housing it, your LMS or your website. You can upload it there. Now, here's the thing about Captivate and Storyline. Captivate is really good. I use it myself, not endorsed by Adobe. I use it myself, but I use it because I have a Macintosh. And Captivate works on Mac and PC. Articulate Storyline does the exact same thing, except for it's only made for PCs, okay? So you can only use Storyline on a PC. Now, when you export it, it doesn't matter what your clients have. They can watch on a PC or a Mac, no problem. But if you are the builder of your program and you want to use Storyline, you have to have a PC, okay? Captivate works for both. Again, Adobe Captivate, and it looks like this. This is a little icon for it, okay? Adobe Captivate is the one that you can use to create these tools. This one, the training simulation, and the e-learning module. Once they're created, as you see, I put them on my website, okay? Corporations specifically ask for these two tools because they are a certain way that they want them to be, corporations do. Do you need, big question, and this is where we're gonna talk with Jean. Do you need to use these corporate tools if you're an entrepreneur? You know, I tell people all the time, what is it that you need? Let's define what you need. Because if you don't need to be SCORM compliant, if you don't have a separate LMS, do you need corporate tools? Probably not. You're probably good with entrepreneurial tools. And people ask me, do you know entrepreneurial tools? I'm like, I tell you what, I know there's Kajabi, Thinkific, and Teachable, and they do a lot of what I do all in one. They're even an LMS together, okay? So that's where Jean's gonna talk about here about these tools. Again, my expertise is on corporate tools. I can definitely make modules, the videos, and make sure that they're ready for import for you. But if you need the house, you see that the house for my videos is my website. If you need the house for your videos, for your training materials, and you need them in a certain way, and you don't have the house, I believe that that's where Jean comes in and tells you how these tools work. So before I move to Jean, Amira, do I have any questions for these?
Yes, and one of them was from before. Somebody just asked, what is SCORM?
SCORM is a system, it definitely stands for something, but it is honestly, basically what it does. SCORM, here's what it does. I'll just tell you. SCORM makes it so that a corporation can track compliance. And what it means is that if the HR department at your job ever said, you need to be compliant in this training, let's say it's, safety training, and everybody has to take it, then the reason why that needs to be SCORM compliant is because it will track the system of who took it, who did, I don't know, how many, what was their score, and all of these things into, let's see, I don't want to get too technical. So basically it tracks it for you. And so if you're not SCORM compliant for corporations, then the corporation can't get there and can't really be compliant with what they want their employees to do. So do you need that for your entrepreneur idea? Yeah, maybe you do. Maybe you need to make sure that everybody's compliant for a certain reason. But if you don't, you see how technical it is. I mean, for an HR training that a corporation needs to track safety, definitely. You need to make sure that whatever module you create is in a SCORM compliant feature so that when you upload it, so that people can take it, then it tracks everything. If it's not SCORM compliant, then corporations are highly likely not going to use it, okay? But again, is that what you're trying to do? If you're not trying to do that, if this is your simple module and you have an entrepreneur idea that blows your mind and you want to put it out into the world, you perhaps don't need to be SCORM compliant.
Perfect. Thank you. The other question has been answered in the chat, and it was, are there free modeling tools that you could practice with? I'm guessing Captive isn't free. And then somebody else chimed in and said Captive has a free 45-day trial.
Yeah, 45. I thought it was 30. That's great.
Yeah. And then does Google have anything similar to this?
Google, not that I'm aware of. Maybe,
Okay.
but not that I'm aware of. Captivate and Storyline both, well, I guess I haven't checked that Storyline for a long time, but Captivate definitely has a free trial because Captivate is $34.99 a month from Adobe. So it's like you really have to be sure that you want to create in this tool because it's going to cost you money monthly, And so, but it does have a 30-day trial for you guys definitely to use. It looks like PowerPoint a lot. So it's been made, both of these tools have been made to tap into a part of our brain that we already know. So we kind of know what PowerPoint looks like. Captivate looks like that as well. It doesn't have the same controllers, but at least it taps into a part of your brain that you can say, I think I'm kind of familiar with this, and I can obviously teach you as well anytime. So.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all the questions for now.
All right, Jean, I'm going to have you take it away. Here's what I'd like to do, Jean. If we can take like 10 to 15 minutes on your side, then I'll wrap it up with this part, or maybe we don't even have to do this part, but I definitely want to hear more questions from people as far as what we're doing.
Great. I think if you can stop sharing your screen, I can share my screen and share my slides.
Definitely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
And I'm going to keep my video off. I'm having some issues with my computer, so it's a little slow. So that's why I'm going to keep my video off so that I have a little bit more bandwidth. I'm not sure what's going on, but awesome. I am Jean, and I'm very excited that everyone is here today. And I am going to talk very briefly about instructional design for entrepreneurs. So that is my area of expertise, and I can share just a little bit about my background and where I'm coming. So I'm coming.
Hey,
from,
Jean.
And can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's a lot of static. Do you have a headset that you can put on?
Oh, let me see if I can.
And we can maybe just take a question or two. And then while Jean's looking for headphones or headset. If anybody has any other questions.
Is this better?
Yes, so much better. Yes.
Okay, good. I don't know if it was like my microphone or something like that. Okay, you guys can hear me okay now?
Actually, there's still quite a bit of background noise. It's like maybe it is the microphone. It's just staticky, but I guess just go for it. We'll go through.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know. Like I said, I'm having some issues with my computer for some reason. It was it was very slow this morning. So is this better in any way?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. Okay. So yes, so my area of expertise is actually digital marketing and social media, but I have gotten to, I guess, learn and work with entrepreneurs in the instructional design over the last several years. And so I've learned a lot about this whole concept of instructional design and how entrepreneurs do that. So it's a little bit about me, just so we can kind of share where my background is. So I am a digital marketing expert, like I said. I'm also a #1 best-selling author of the book here that you see on your right on your left-hand side, called Win New Customers. And I'm the founder and CEO of a couple of companies. But primarily we work with entrepreneurs and small to medium-sized businesses and help them find customers online using digital strategies. But we also work a lot with entrepreneurs who want to productize their knowledge, to share their area of expertise, and to use e-learning to do that. And I've been doing this for 13 years. I have a YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube, you can find me. And also I've been featured in a couple of publications. Is my audio still okay? I just want to make sure before I move on to the presentation.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think if you just talk a little bit slower, that helps.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, no problem. I know I have a tendency to talk kind of fast. So just a couple of stats before we jump into the actual piece of the presentation is I just want to kind of share where we are in the e-learning space, because it's growing so much, and as Cassy mentioned, it's just exploding lately. So just to give you some ideas, the e-learning market size was valued at around $190 billion in 2018. And if we think about where the projection is moving to, the e-learning market is projected to be worth about $325 billion in 2025. So just to kind of give you an idea that this is a very, very huge market, and it's growing, as you can tell, very much. I mean, in 2018 is 190 billion, so we're gonna add another over $100 billion in just several years between 2018 and 2025. So just wanted to kind of put this in context so that you get an idea of what we're talking about when it comes to e-learning. My area of expertise, like I said, has been digital marketing, but also working with entrepreneurs who want to switch over to e-learning, because typically the challenges that I find when I work with entrepreneurs is that they're usually, they have some sort of expertise, whether they're a relationship coach, a business coach, and typically they're coaching and they're using, they're trading time for dollars, so they're working one-on-one with clients. And so with e-learning, it allows them to really massively scale their business by working one to many. And so this is why they also want to, a lot of times, create programs that allow for e-learning. So that is, and my area of expertise has been lately micro-learning, because when I first started working with entrepreneurs, a lot of times, they would have these very long modules or very long videos. And as Cassy mentioned, getting feedback from your audience is so important. And so with the way attention spans are now these days, it's hard to keep people engaged for so long, for 30 minutes or whatnot. So my area of expertise has really been micro-learning lately, because we want to make sure that we're getting the message across, but we are not doing it in a fashion where people go on their phone and they're getting distracted and things like that. So So it has changed a lot in the last several years. When I first started with eLearning, 30-minute modules were totally fine, but now it's like everything is much, much smaller, chunked down, as Cassy mentioned earlier. And so with entrepreneurs, it's a slightly different approach than what Cassy mentioned as working with corporations. Here, really, you want to share your message when it comes to working with whatever it is your area of expertise is. So whether you're a business coach or a relationship coach, you're trying to share your message, and you're doing that through e-learning. And so that's how I've been working with entrepreneurs. And one of the biggest benefits here is growing and scaling your business. So like I said, having worked with entrepreneurs, that's a big part of getting their message out there, is working with clients from a one-to-many perspective and growing and scaling their business. And again, the benefits are moving from trading time for dollars to providing instructions to many. So like I said, a lot of times the types of entrepreneurs I work with are coaches. And so they want to move away from just trading time for dollars, where they're doing one-on-one coaching and using e-learning as a big benefit to then allow them to work for a one-to-many kind of perspective. So in terms of what it looks like I'm just going to very briefly go through a very overarching strategy for creating an e-learning product. So as Cassy mentioned, and I totally, absolutely cannot agree more, get to know your target market. So understand who is your target market, what do they need, what kind of e-learning programs they would want, and try to get your product out there as early as possible so that you can get feedback and then make changes. If you work on your product for a very long time, you might be creating a lot of time, or wasting a lot of time on creating it, because then you're not getting the feedback. If you get the product out there, then you can be getting feedback and making changes to it on the fly. And so it's very important to understand who your target market is, and part of it is getting your product out there as well. So that's the first step, is making sure that you're understand who you are targeting when it comes to your e-learning program. And then create a course around what your target needs and your expertise. So if you're a relationship coach, a business coach, or whatever is your area of expertise, incorporate that, of course, into your course. But of course, again, knowing your target market and knowing what they need is going to be critical, so that you can create a e-learning product that makes sense for them, versus just whatever you think is your target market needs. Getting feedback as much as possible is going to be key here, and you can make changes on the fly. So the first step would be outlining your course, right? Whatever is your area of expertise, make sure that you have, it's kind of like writing a book, right? If anybody has written a book here, I can kind of attest to that. But first, you want to outline everything. You want to make sure that you have all of the key points in your outline. And then as you're creating your course, then of course you can add specific details to each as you're going along. So then once you're done outlining and you have all of the key points, then the next step is creating your course. And so that includes anything from videos, audios, worksheets, quizzes. And as Cassy mentioned, making sure that you have some sort of quizzes or some sort of modules where you're actually engaging with your audiences, because especially now with attention spans being kind of not where they used to be, and being short, you want to make sure that you're quizzing your audiences so that they're actually watching the videos or engaging with your content, and then they're responding to questions, so that there's actually back and forth and there's feedback. So you've created your course, you've created your modules, you've created your content. Then the next step is uploading it to a learning management system, an LMS. And I can talk a little bit about the tools that Cassy also mentioned before. And the ones I have used in my practice or with any of the clients I've worked with are Teachable, Thinkific, and Kajabi. And I think some of them do have a free trial. So if you want to kind of test things out, you can certainly try those. Some of them are a little bit on the lower side in terms of cost. I think Teachable starts at like $39. Kajabi is a little bit on the higher price point. I think it starts at about $129 or $150 per month, but they have slightly different capabilities. Kajabi is a little bit more robust, so it just depends on what you need and where your current I guess, where your current audiences are and what you're trying to accomplish with your learning management system. So, but these are the tools that I definitely use when it comes to entrepreneurs. And then the last piece as an entrepreneur is, of course, marketing your course, right? So this is a little bit different than Cassy mentioned. You know, Cassy typically works with corporations and they need internal learning management, or they need internal content for, let's say, their, you know, HR department or something like that. But for this, if you're an entrepreneur, then really once you create the course, the next step is to make sure you get it out there, make sure you get it to your audiences, and make sure that you're generating revenue for your business, if that's really, you know, what you're like looking to do. So that was my brief presentation. And the last piece, I guess, before I give this over to Cassy, is I am not SCORM compliant for what I do and for what my the entrepreneurs and clients that I work with do. We do not need SCORM compliance. So unless and all of the entrepreneurs that I've encountered and have worked with, we have not needed SCORM compliance. So again, I'm not saying that you don't need it. I'm just saying I would review that. But typically for entrepreneurs, if that's what you're looking to do, you typically do not need the SCORM compliance. And if you need more information, you can always go to sellmycourse.today, and you can ask me any questions after this presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions or answer questions now.
Jean, really quickly before we get into, I know Amira, you have questions, but I want to make sure that we touch on this. The LMSs, the learning management systems that you talked about, Thinkific, Teachable, and Kajabi, they allow you to monetize right there, don't they? Like there's like a place where people can pay for your course.
Yep, absolutely. So as part of Teachable, Kajabi, and Thinkific, so they're specifically designed for entrepreneurs. So you're basically selling your courses. So the whole program, or the whole learning management system, allows you to have a CRM or a customer relationship manager. So people input their contact information, their name, email address. It allows you to also, of course, have the content manager. So that is managing all your content, creating courses. And then also, of course, the payment processing. So that means that you can create a course, let's say for $99, and then sell it to your audiences, and then you can monetize using these platforms. Absolutely.
I love it. All right, Amira, what questions does she have?
Okay, so we have a couple from Jen. Where's the best place to put your product out there for someone new, or what are the platforms/marketing hints to get people to find, use, and buy your product? And the comments in the chat bar, if you want to read it.
Yeah, please, by all means, Jean. I think that's more your...
Sure. So all of this goes back to your ideal target market. I get this question asked a lot, where do I market my course? It depends on where your audiences are hanging out and who your audiences are. If your audiences are business people, then potentially LinkedIn is probably a good place to start creating content and engaging with your audiences. Now, just remember, we don't want to just push our course out there, because especially if you're just getting started, it usually takes a while to create a brand, to create content, and then to create a know, like, and trust factor with your audiences. So unless you already have a captured audience, then great, you can very easily start selling your course. If you don't, then it would take some time for you to engage with your audiences. If your audiences, let's say, are moms, then potentially Facebook is a good place to engage. If they're, millennials, then maybe Instagram. So it just depends on who your audiences are and which platforms would be most appropriate.
Awesome, thank you. Next question is, please say more about marketing, please. If I only use 2 or 3 social media outlets to promote my courses. Oh, you've just answered that essentially. So do any of these 3 programs take a percentage of your marketing profits?
Yes, so they're like any other platform out there. They usually take a percentage of your sale. So I don't know. It depends on your level of how much the monthly payment is. But you can check all of that on their platforms if you go to the pricing.
Okay. And that's it for questions in the chat box.
Great. Yeah, if you guys have any questions for me later, you can always go to sellmycourses.today, sellmycourse.today, and I can answer questions at any point after this presentation.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today. It's great. All right, Cassy, you're on.
Okay. Am I muted? Okay. Perfect. Jean, thank you so much. Wait, you can hear me, right, Amira?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Jean, thank you so much, because I specifically asked Jean to talk about this with me because quite literally when we look at this, and because I work with corporate America, these are the tools. I mean, there are more, but these are the two tools that we, hold on, I'm not sharing my screen. That's what's happening.
Oh, do you want me to stop sharing? Okay,
Yes,
sorry.
yes,
Yep,
yes, there we go. Thank you.
Yep, there you
Perfect.
go.
I hope that they got your information. But if you didn't, maybe you can put it on the chat, Jean, too, like your.
Yeah, absolutely.
your info.
Well, and I'll send a post email out with both of your information.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so we're
Okay.
good.
Okay, so the reason why I asked Jean to share with us is because, like I said, I'm literally a trained instructional designer. Corporate America was what's been where I've lived for the past, even when I became an entrepreneur and I formed my own company, corporate America is my main client. I definitely work with entrepreneurs, but Jean does work with these three platforms a lot more than I ever have. And for me, it was just more important to have an expert talk about this rather than me per se, because I don't use them as much. Am I sharing my screen still?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I want to make sure that I talk about this one more time. And these three programs, Kajabi, Thinkific, Teachable, I'm sure there are more, but these are the ones that I know Jean works with the most, which is why I put them over here. They already include, remember when we talked about the house? My house happens to be my website. I can create these programs on Captivate and put them in here. But these three programs, the reason why they're important to really think about what you need is because they include the house for you. You know, they are the house that will host your videos, your training manuals, everything that we were talking about. Sally, for example, with your question, is like, where can you organize all of these? You know, these right here will have the capacity to be a house for your content. So that is what's called an LMS, a learning management system. It's the house for all of your modules. In corporate America, we separate it. A corporation will hire an LMS, and then we'll create the modules and then put them into the LMS. These three tools are both together. Okay, so you got to think about that. Maybe you already have your website and you don't need the house. Maybe you just need someone to create, or maybe you want to learn how to create on Captivate. No problem. Then if you already have the house, then you can just make them and upload them where you need them. And I also want to make sure that I give you, SCORM means Shareable Content Object Reference Model. I just pulled that off online. Basically, what it does is it makes the contents that you've created play with the LMS better. That's it. But again, you have to really look at what you need. Maybe, like Jean said, pretty much her bulk of entrepreneurs that she works with don't need to be SCORM compliant. A corporation, probably, I don't necessarily want to use a blanket statement, but I would say the bulk of corporations would want to be SCORM compliant. So when you hear that, just ask yourself, what is it that I need? You can talk to Jean, you can talk to me, and we'll tell you. Okay, so let's see. I want to end really quickly with this, and then I definitely want to get more of your questions. Even if you're wondering about anything, we'll be happy to answer it for the last 15 minutes here. But a very good question that I had recently was, what if I just don't want to pay for Kajabi, don't want to pay for Captivate or Storyline? Well, how can I just start for pretty much free? And I said, well, maybe not free, but let's say Sally, we'll use you, Sally, because since you asked a very important question. What happens if you already have like written materials, videos. You know, how can you just start putting it out there? And honestly, before we had Kajabi, before we had Captivate, we still have PDFs. And
I can talk a little bit about that if just very briefly. I mean, you can
Yep.
absolutely do this for free if you want. So before I started working with some entrepreneurs, they would use Dropbox. I mean, they would literally
Exactly.
create content and put it on Dropbox, share their links. They weren't monetizing on it, but that's where I came in and I helped them monetize. But absolutely, you can do everything for free. You can put it all out there without using any platform if you want to.
Love that, Jean. Thank you so much, because it's true. I literally I had an author friend of mine come to me, and I actually told her, when you're ready, I'm gonna connect you with my coworker Jean. You know, because right now what she needed was just like to try to just throw something at the wall. I'm like, there you go. Create your booklet of information. Think about how we learned. We had a book. The teachers gave us a book, and then we had some kind of a workbook. Do the same thing. Do your booklet of information. Create your participant guide. Give the people like Monday and Tuesday to fill chapter 1, and then on Wednesday check in, like it says here on 3C, check in with them with Zoom, and then just get your feedback, you know. But you're putting the PDF on something like Jean said, Dropbox is a good one. There's the Google Drive, you know, that's free. At this point you just want to receive feedback. And then you tell them, all right, guys, we're going to do this booklet of information, you know, insert your topic here, how to be a better soccer coach, okay? Then you say, on Monday and Tuesday, I want you to work on chapter 1. On Wednesday, we're all going to have a video Zoom call to talk about how it went, and then so on. And by the time you want to monetize, you at least have a lot of feedback from when you did it for free. So again, do you need these things right away? Do you need to pay $30 a month right now? If you want to. But the most important thing, which is our takeaway number 2 here, is keep the learner in mind. I know we all want to make money. Just be sure you're keeping their best interest in mind by getting their feedback. Number 3, get their feedback and get it for free right now. You know, we all know how to use a PDF. We all, or at least read a PDF. We can answer questions. And then with the advent of today, a lot of us are on Zoom today. Check in just like your teachers did. You know, your teachers gave you a couple of days for homework, and then you all reviewed it on Wednesday, let's say. Do the same thing with your audience. Our brains are still wired in the same way that we've been teaching and learning for the last, at least, forever probably. So we'll call it 100 years. So do the same thing. Do the same method. Get the feedback, and when you're ready, then you can create instructional design, e-learning, and learning and development materials for yourself. But if you're ready now, most certainly Jean and myself are able to help you for sure. Okay, we have 14 minutes for questions. I really hope that you have some for us, because we are happy to help you.
Are we questioning with voice, or do you want us to keep writing?
Nope, we're questioning with voice, so you can unmute and just throw your questions out there.
Can I go?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Kick us off.
So I have a kind of a unique business. It's a offshoot of a business that's been around forever and ever. And like I said, I've been writing a lot of content about how to do this. My sole purpose is to train people how to do what I do. I have a website that I designed. I have a background in graphics, and I'm wondering, now that I can take some of what you said about I need to organize my content. I need to do a video. I want to start with that. When I make my first video, should it be about what it is I want to sell? Should it be about, and then maybe followed with a survey monkey, questionnaire about, I have one made up right now that says, do you think you need to learn this? Where are you at in this business? If you do want to learn from me, what do you want to learn? And it has many branches that'll take the potential learner to different areas. And I'm writing script for each one of these, people for wherever they're at in the business. I have too many questions.
Yeah, Sally, let's go with that one really quickly, and then I'll answer from for my point of view, and maybe Jean, you have something else as well.
Well, I just
Absolutely.
want to know, should I link the potential of all this? Like, I'm providing training to my website, or create a whole new site about this. And I basically know who my customers are that will want to learn. But for me, it's how do I just put this out there? Because I don't have any emails right now. I haven't, like you said, I've been writing and writing and writing, and I haven't put anything out there yet. I've, in all my research for the last couple of years, they're saying that the emails are the money, and I haven't collected any emails yet. So how do I collect potential people? Maybe a YouTube video. Hi, I'm going to do a thing. Well,
Gotcha.
somebody told me that
Definitely.
was a needle in a haystack.
Well, you know, Sally, I think you're not incorrect when it comes to the video, but I think Jean may have a better answer for as far as like, how do you collect the emails initially when you don't have any?
Yeah.
Sure. So I don't know if necessarily emails are really, it's hard for me to say exactly what you need to do, because I would need to take a closer look at what your product is, what you're trying to accomplish. Yeah, email is a possibility. So is social media. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities out there. So is YouTube. There's just, again, I would really go back to, again, who is your ideal target market and where are they hanging out? Are they using email? Because if you're targeting like Gen Zs, they're probably not using a lot of email. But if you're targeting, millennials or Gen X, then they probably are using email. So it really depends on who your audience is, and what modalities they're using to communicate with the world. So are they using social media? Are they using email? Are they using video? There's many different modalities out there. So I know that that's not really the answer you want to hear, but it's very hard for me to say because I don't know exactly what you do.
Right. Well, I have a mobile salon business for special needs and seniors. And right now I'm the only one in Colorado that does. And I have calls from all over the United States, people wanting to know if I can come. So it's seniors and special needs. And of course, hairdressers have been around forever. I've been in business 44 years and on the road for 6. And I want to write the only comprehensive training program out there to teach people how to go mobile, every aspect of it, from what kind of oil to put in your car to how you treat people on the phone, what have you. Pages and pages of really helpful professional information for potential client customers. So I'm trying to reach hairdressers. Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Thank you, Sally.
Hey, Jean, when you get a chance, will you check the chat box, please? So
Yeah.
other questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, just jump in.
Oh, come on. I'm going to have to start talking again.
Well, while we're thinking about questions, whoever is Sightseer 2, if you could check the chat box too, that'd be great. Oh, we have, let's see. No, so no other questions? I mean, we can wrap up if you guys don't have questions.
Yeah. Well, thank you so very much. I sincerely appreciate the chance to talk to you guys. Instructional design is super exciting right now. Keep in mind, it's a field it's been around for a long time. It's definitely the combination of writing, making things beautiful and appealing so that people want to see them, but additionally getting into people's brains so that you know what learning aspects they're most used to and serving them correctly. Because we all want to make money, we all want to put our idea out there. Just be sure that you are checking in with that person, with your learner, so that they can also capture what you're trying to teach them. And you can always contact me on my website. Like I said, not in the next 2 days, but there's my phone numbers also on that PDF, also my LinkedIn profile, and Jean also has her information. And I really want to thank you, Amira, for the chance. Jean, thank you so much. And I'll take it to either you or Amira or Jean for the last words.
Yeah, so Jean, do you have anything you want to say in closing? Jean, are you with us? She might have stepped away from her computer.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll check back in with her in a second. So I'm going to stop.
Sorry, I
Oh,
was on
there you are.
mute for,
Okay.
yeah, no,
Okay.
oh, so somebody asked me, does my website goes to Facebook? Yep, it's gonna go, that's the whole idea. So that's how I communicate with everybody. So just punch in that website, it's gonna go to my Facebook page, and you can ask me any questions through Facebook Messenger. So that's how I communicate with everybody. So feel free to do that. Yeah, and I think thanks everybody for being here. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, sellmycourse.today, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you to both of our instructors today. This was awesome. And I think we should definitely run this course again. So much information, but fascinating. I loved it. So thank you. Thank you. It was great. For those of you who are on the call, just a couple updates from Jeffco BRC. So we are still doing business advising. We've actually doubled the time that we spend doing business advising now. Prior to COVID, Lou was in the office 1.5 days. Now she's got 3 full days slated for us, and you can coach with her about anything, literally. Also, we've waived the policy of 6 free business coaching sessions a year. So before this, because we are publicly funded, you were eligible for 6 free business coaching sessions